Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Esteemed members of the committee, my name is Vasu Abhiraman. I'm Senior Policy Counsel with the ACLU of Georgia. I'm also a proud elections worker. I've worked over a dozen elections in these past 3 years at many different capacities and served as a volunteer deputy registrar. I kind of want to speak for folks who work in our election system here. For example, if you look at our big four counties in Georgia, Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, Gwinnett, once Janine Eveler retires from Cobb in a couple months, all four of these offices are going to have new directors who did not serve in the 2020 election. This system has seen an extraordinary amount of takeover, and many important vacancies exist across this state. The North Star for elections policymaking right now, it should be either one, it improves the voter experience, or two, it improves the lives and experience of our local elections officials. I don't believe this bill fits into that, and that's why we at the ACLU of Georgia oppose this bill. I think a drop of common sense might be needed here. Do we really think the people who have spoke out in support of this bill are going to look at these ballots and say, "Oh, we saw these ballots; they're not counterfeit, they're great"? We know what's going to happen here. Okay, so let's be grounded in the reality of this system and in understanding what's happening. I used to be a former software engineer. I've read some of these claims, the technicals in them. They're like an episode of 24, where just a bunch of technical claims are thrown out and then some hacking happens, and there's nothing to it. From me reading these documents myself and trying to go through the technicals of this system myself, I pride myself on trying to learn the technicals of this system. If this bill were to move forward, we have some suggestions. First, I believe lines 98, it says 97 and 98. It says such ballots and other documents shall be retained and preserved in the office of the clerk, county records manager, and then it says or officer designated by the clerk. I think we should cross out or officer designated by the clerk, because I believe in many counties around our state, there are 159 after all, that could be someone at the elections office. And I really think we should leave the elections office out of this. So have a strong recommendation to cross that out. If you look at lines 101 and 102, it says subject to inspection after initial certification by the superintendent. So right now that happens the Monday after election day, and state certification has a deadline of the next Friday, so Friday of the next week. We would strongly prefer that it say after certification by the state of Georgia, so that it's only inspected after that final certification. Again, I think we all know, if we're grounded in reality here, what will happen in between the county certification and the state certification if folks are looking at these ballots and claiming they saw counterfeits and things like that. Okay, so let's try to have it after state certification. Lastly, have a suggestion to include language that would protect electors' personally identifiable information that may be contained with the ballot. The outer envelopes of absentee ballots, that's of primary concern here. I believe there may be some language in the code already that tries to ensure that protection, but I believe in this section it would be absolutely warranted. Have other suggestions as well to improve this bill, maybe limiting these requests to residents of the county the same way we limit challenges to residents of the county. To limit the potential number of requests the same party can file, the number and kinds of ballots subject to be inspected at any given time. Again, these are things that would help local elections officials, common sense rules around the process. But again, given that this bill does not cognizably improve the voter experience or the lives of local elections officials, we cannot support it. Okay. Yield for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness? Chairman White.
We've had several discussions, and I appreciate your opinion on it. But did you ever find any other states where the problems that you suggest will happen, have happened?
Yeah,
have this particular legislation
so
or
I think
this
I would,
in law?
Yeah, and I appreciate you asking that question. First, Georgia is the 8th largest state in our nation. I'm not all that interested in what's happening in states that are smaller than Georgia.
Well,
it has
Florida's larger, and they allow public inspection, as I understand it.
Okay, I mean, I need to look into that. I haven't looked at what happens in Florida.
Okay.
Georgia is arguably the largest presidential swing state right now, according to the folks who look at this data. It has 159 counties, much more than Florida, second only to Texas. I think there are many things that distinguish Georgia and what's happened in Georgia right now. Florida did not send 2 election workers to the January 6th committee to talk about how their lives have been upended by the conspiracy theorists who are being appeased by this bill. I think this bill does not make the lives of these folks better.